Now let's get into the understanding the controversy. What is the Montpelier Descendants Committee's relationship to the Montpelier Foundation, and how did the concept of quote structural parity govern that relationship? And I should point out that you are a member of both the MDC and the Montpelier Foundation.
That's correct. I'm the founding chair of the Montpelier Descendants Committee, and I'm a board member of the foundation, the Montpelier Foundation. Well, so it's important to back up to answer your
Hmm.
question. The staff of Montpelier had been collaborating very, very closely with the Descendants community over 2 decades. So from the inception of the foundation, which was in the late 90s, up until 2018, there had been close collaboration with the staff of Montpelier and members of the Descendants community on certain projects, but it wasn't a formalized relationship. And in 2018, there was a summit held at Montpelier called the National Summit on Teaching Slavery. And it was sponsored by the National Trust, which owns Montpelier, and located at the Montpelier Foundation campus. And that was a gathering of over 57 experts, leading experts from around the country and around the world on the study of historians, archaeologists, anthropologists, people studying material culture, economic history, all various different aspects of early American history, including the study of slavery. And they came up with something that is known today as the rubric. And the
Hmm.
rubric is a document that essentially evaluates the relationship between descendant communities and this and the institutions that manage these sites, these museums. Montpelier is essentially a museum, and so it was a groundbreaking document. It was the very first time that a series of best practices were put down on paper by a leading group of national experts. And the MDC was formed a year after the rubric was written in 2019 on Juneteenth weekend in 2019. And I, along with 300 other known descendants of Montpelier, were invited, and we came together and we created this organization to formally represent ourselves vis-a-vis the institution. And we adopted the rubric, and we formed ourselves along democratic principles, elected officers, and eventually created a 501c3. So that's how the relationship formed. And I think your next question was about structural parity.
Hmm.
Structural parity is the essential concept in the rubric. So structural parity is the idea that the relationships between these institutions, the museums, and the communities whose history they are essentially telling, has in the past, at best, really been based upon kind of a tokenism arrangement at best. And so that means that on one-off basis, you might have someone on a senior staff position from a descendants community, or someone who's honored for a specific known history, or eventually a single board member, but it wasn't structural. And so the idea in structural parity is that the descendants should have a structural relationship that is at least equal to that of the museum itself, meaning that from the board level all the way down to the volunteer level, there should be equal power and decision-making authority between the descendants, who are known as the ethical client in this relationship, and the institutional client of the museum itself. That's the idea of structural parity.
Hmm.
And as obvious as it may sound to us now, it was actually a very groundbreaking idea for the museum world.